Hey there, it's Schmeder. I've been getting a lot of questions from students about why their projects are not making it into the glaze kiln outside. And especially if you're an advanced student, you might have been used to getting away with a few things that I don't allow anymore. And that's because we got new shelves and I'm trying to treat them really, really nicely, so I'm being much more strict. So let's talk about some things I've been seeing that will prevent you from getting your projects in the kiln. So the first thing is, if your glaze goes all the way up to the edge, especially if it's thick, when that glaze starts to melt and it relaxes, it's going to melt all over my nice kiln shelves, and then you're going to get stuck with a vase attached to a kiln shelf. So you need to make sure you come back with a sponge. I'll just do part. There we go. So that didn't take too long. All the way around, you need to make sure you at least get about 1/8 of an inch away from the bottom so that when the glaze melts, it doesn't accidentally slide down and stick to the kiln shelf. So that's one thing I've seen. Another thing I've seen is just way too much glaze on your project. Your glaze should only be about the thickness of a dime, and so if it's thicker than that, if it's starting to get to where I could measure it in 1/4 of an inch, we just need to rinse it off and start over because it will just run all over the place. Now, some of you remember to have enough space on the outside, which is really great, especially with some of these runnier glazes, but you forget the bottom, and you need to make sure you go back and you wipe the bottom. Even if you put wax on it before you started, it needs to be nice and clean. This is called a dry foot, and if it does not have a dry foot, it will not get fired. So that's super sad. And then lastly, some of you are like, I forgot to put the wax on, and then you glaze it, and you put the wax on top of the glaze, and that doesn't do anything because at about 300 degrees, that wax goes away, and then you still have glaze touching the kiln shelf. So if you forget, you just need to take a sponge, and I'll just do one part of this so that you can see what I'm talking about. Just take a sponge and clean off the entire foot ring and then about 1/8 of an inch on the side. And if you do that all the way around, you're good. You can go put it out on the kiln shelf and I will get it fired, I promise. You don't need to go back and put extra wax on because you've already accomplished the goal of keeping a dry foot. So if you see your projects on the very bottom shelf of the blue cart, that means something needs to be fixed. So you can always bring it to me and I'll show you what to do, and then we can get it back up on one of those top shelves and get it in the firing. Thanks.